Hey, what's up? John Sonmez here from simpleprogrammer.com. And today I got a question about working 12-hour shifts and still achieving goals. This is a tough one, I've got to admit here. So this question comes from Joe, and he says, I work 12-hour shifts and drive 1 hour, which amounts to no extra time. I pretty much agree with that, although there's a little bit of time there. I want to be able to work out, code, and begin eating right, but it is hard for me to keep it up on my work days, especially when I'm on my 5-day week. So I'm guessing 5-day week means that he's got 5 12-hour shifts back to back. That's pretty tough, plus the commute. 1 hour commute. Okay. So he says, wondering if you have any tips on building the good habits and killing the bad ones during the times I work for 4 days straight, or 4 days straight, I guess, killing my momentum. Also, your videos alone have lit a fire under my ass, and I watch them religiously before bed. They help keep my motivation. Thank you. So, this is a tough one. Anytime you have a weird schedule like this, it's really tough. But you've got to develop your own system and your own schedule, right? Your own routine that's going to work for you. So if you've got a regular 9-to-5 job, it's probably easier to develop a Monday through Friday routine, because you can have a morning ritual or morning routine that you do. You can go to work, and then afterwards you can fit in the gym or whatever you're doing. But if you're working these 12-hour shifts, you don't have much time on those days, right? But then you've got these days where you've got a ton of time because you're off. I'm assuming that it's something like a 4-3 or something like that. I've talked to people that have worked at Micron when I used to live in Boise, Idaho, that had these kind of factory schedules. You know, this is a typical factory type of schedule. So here's what I would recommend. Okay, first of all, figure out what is your priority, because you're probably not going to be able to work on a bunch of things at once, right? The other thing, well, let's step back one step here. Do you want to keep on doing this forever? You might want to think about, like, you're only going to be able to have limited success when you're working this kind of schedule, right? Because you just don't have the flexibility to have the routine that is going to be optimal for you. So just stepping back one step is just to put this thought in your mind. You might want to start be thinking about how you can get off of this, how you can find another job, how you can get off of this 12-hour shift type of thing with a 1 hour commute, because that's it's going to be really, really hard. Okay, so now going back to what I would suggest here. You're going to have to figure out one of the main things that you're going to want to work on, right? And where you're going to be able to fit that in. So, and the reason why I say that is just because you're just not going to have enough time to be consistent throughout the day in all of the areas, right? So if working out, if gaining muscle is really important to you, then maybe that's your number one priority. If it's losing weight, then maybe, then that one actually you might be able to do at the same time. But if it's like learning to code or improving your coding skills, right, you got to pick one of these and make it your main thing. And even with my schedule, even having the ultimate flexibility that I have, I almost always have like one big rock, one big project that I'm working on at a time that's sort of a big goal, and I have a bunch of supporting goals, but I have one thing always that I'm never going to drop, right? So if I were you, I would build my entire schedule around that one thing. So let's say that it's improving your software development skills, your coding skills. Well, you're not going to be able to optimally work out, okay? If you want to lose weight, if you just want to like lose weight, that's easy because you don't have to do anything. You just have to not do something, which is not eat like a pig. So you can actually set that into your schedule. But let's say that it's developing your coding skills. Well, if you're doing a 12-hour shift and you're doing a 1 hour commute, you're going to have to figure out, well, while you're doing your 1 hour commute, can you do some things that would help with that? Maybe can you listen to some audiobooks that will inspire you, motivate you? There's not a lot of programming audiobooks. You can check out my audiobook. I do have Soft Skills, the Software Developer's Life Manual in audio format, but you might do something like that. But then, let's see, out of your day, maybe when you get home from your shift, you're going to have like an hour or two of free time before you got to go to bed. So you devote that hour or two to coding, to practicing your code, and you have that on a daily basis, right? And then what you can do is when you have your days off, you can have bigger windows and you can do some other things, right? So maybe you can do secondary priority things like doing your workout and things like that. But the key thing here is this, is that you just have to figure out for what your schedule is, right? So if you've got days where you have 12-hour shifts and you've got some days where you've got them completely off, figure out what your week schedule is and figure out what meals are you eating, right? If you want to get on top of the diet on particular days, what time are you eating those meals? What are you doing before you go to work? What are you doing after you go to work when you do the 12-hour shifts? On the days that you don't have the work, what are you doing? What is your schedule like? And get yourself a routine. It doesn't have to be the same as the Monday through Friday 9 to 5 routine that most people have, but you have to have your own routine and plan that out, schedule it out, know exactly, right? Because what ends up happening, especially when you work these long days, is you just assume you're gonna have time for stuff and you don't, or you miss it, or you're tired. But if you know that you're gonna set aside 1 hour, just 1 hour on those 12-hour shift days, or just 2 hours, or whatever that you have to spare, if you know you're gonna set aside and you know what you're gonna do at that time, and you know what you're gonna eat, and maybe you've prepped your meals already, right? During the times that you had the time off, when you have your 3-day weekend or 4-day weekend, or however that works out, then it's gonna be simpler. You're not gonna have to make decisions, especially when you're really tired, and you're gonna be set up. So you just gotta kind of take it. I would take my calendar, I would just plan it out, I would just know what I'm gonna eat, I'd know what I'm gonna spend my hours on, and have my one big goal, the big thing that I'm shooting for, and gear it all towards that. And I would really be trying to get out of this situation, because it is very, very hard, right? I travel a lot, I know what it's like, but it's very, very hard to make progress on your goals when you don't have a solid routine, when you don't have stability, right? If you're moving around, if you've got routines that change from day to day, it makes it really hard. But at least you should have some stability here, right? You should have some days, you know what days you're working, you know what days you're off. If people are calling you up and you're having to come in, that's a totally different thing. But if you know it ahead of time, you can plan it ahead of time. It's definitely going to be a challenge, though. It's definitely not going to be easy. It'd be better if you had more even kilter type of days. But hey, you got to do what you got to do. All right, that's all I got for you for this video. If you like this video, if you haven't subscribed already, click that subscribe button below, and I will talk to you next time. Take care.